So welcome at today's podcast. Welcome at podcast from ED. And we have a special guest today. He's Ronan Smyth, which is director at Device Partner GTM at CEMA. Welcome, Ronan.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming here.
It's great to be here with you guys.
And at the start, could you explain what you're doing, really?
What am I doing? So I lead go-to-market for Central Europe, Middle East, and Africa for the Devices Partner sales team in Microsoft. That essentially means I'm responsible for making sure that we land our corporate strategy into the countries. We have 109 countries across the CEMA region. And so it's important that we choose which countries to invest in, which partners to invest with, how to orchestrate the ecosystem across the OEMs, the disties, the resellers, to make sure we maximize the opportunity we have today around pro refresh and end of support.
Okay, cool. And what's the main topic for Microsoft today?
Oh, well, there's two main topics. I guess just to set the scene, of course, we have moments in time which we call end of support. Windows 10 end of support, and Windows 10 end of support, as we all know, is a topic we're all talking about. In fact, it's something that gives us all great energy. And essentially it means that those devices that are running on Windows 10 will no longer be supported on the 14th of October 2025, which is probably less than 146 working days away, which is very close at this stage. And what does that really mean? It means that customers running those devices, typically 5-year-old devices, will no longer get security updates, feature updates, and probably more importantly, and maybe less known, is the fact that Microsoft 365 applications running on end of support Windows 10 devices will also not be supported.
Okay.
And so it's very important that we get this message out through our partner ecosystem, get it to our customers, and it's very important that you understand the risks of not moving across. At a time when cybersecurity is becoming tenfold in terms of threats, sophistication, and scale, it's very, very important that we help our customers get across on that date. Of course, if there are legitimate reasons where customers cannot get across on time, then we have options. There are what we call extended security updates, where customers can pay extra to actually have security updates to make sure they keep the lights on and stay secure before they move across to Windows 11. But definitely we are recommending to all of our customers, all of our partners, to move across to Windows 11 as soon as possible.
Okay, from the other side, it's a huge opportunities for our partners, like resellers and integrators, to sell the new devices to their customers.
Exactly, and that's the point. That Windows 11 is kind of at an inflection point. And Windows 11 is kind of the platform for AI at work. And so you have choice. And that's the thing, you have choice. And it's confusing today, I think, because we, as Microsoft, have held back talking about Copilot plus PCs until this point. All right. And in fact, next week we also have a big launch of Copilot Plus in Warsaw. And so three options really are: you can go with a Windows 11 device with no NPU. That is no neural processing unit.
Yeah.
That is, you have to use the cloud to leverage generative AI. The other option, of course, is PCs, Windows 11 PCs that have an NPU that's less than 40 TOPS. Okay, and why is that distinction? It's because with 40 TOPS, it still isn't necessarily as powerful as Microsoft would like it to be to create those local experiences. And so what we created was a new class of PCs we called Copilot Plus PCs that has 40 TOPS and above, but also has 40 local models. And we've all heard about these large language models in the cloud, but it's taking the smaller set of those and putting them on the PC. And so then you have that choice. And without going too far ahead here, you have those options. And it's important that when customers think about future-proofing their investments, and they think about migrating from Windows 10 to Windows 11 to be secure, it's actually saying, do I need to buy a Copilot Plus PC to make sure that investment will last for the future and what is coming? We're still at the very early stages of this kind of migration across, but it's very important that customers future-proof the investments they're making as they migrate to Windows 11.
Okay, and these kind of computers are offered by all the main brands like HP, Lenovo, Asus, and the others.
Of course, and more importantly, also we have 3 silicon partners, which we didn't have in the past. So we have, of course, our friends from Intel, x86, AMD, and of course Qualcomm. And Qualcomm is the newer kind of member to the family of Copilot Plus PCs, which is a very interesting model, right? But the x86 from Intel and AMD were announced during CES, where all of the M&As announced some great products. And it adds not just to the outcome and the experience you get, but also the quality of the hardware, because it allows you to have longer battery life. It allows you to be able to process faster. Also allows you to
maybe super thin.
Super thin, exactly my point. Exactly, super thin. So they look great as well, right? So, but to actually have the ability to have a battery that runs for a whole day is something that all of us guys who are working and traveling around really need. My PC today on the way from the airport lasted 3.5 hours. So, that's tough. You really want to be able to have your PC not charged for a whole day and then get back to your hotel or get back to your office and charge, which is fantastic.
From my point of view, Microsoft ensuring the best experience on the future computers, and the customers have a choice to be part of the future or stay where they are and try the future, try it online. All right, Ronan, can you explain what the cloud to edge AI value is and why it's important today, so important?
It's very important. AI is something that's been talked about a lot over the last 2 years. It's been crazy talked about, a lot of hype, and then we go through the cycle of what does it really mean for me, and now we're kind of seeing people see the use cases are coming out. That's kind of interesting, but all of that's been around the cloud. All of that's been around the cloud to date, right? These big, huge, kind of massive big cloud motions from many of the largest companies in the world. But now with Copilot Plus PCs, for the first time, you have the ability and the power in a device at the endpoint that can actually do generative AI at the endpoint. And that gives a lot of advantages for end users, because now, of course, instead of having and sharing all your information to the web, which obviously has latency issues, has security issues, has privacy issues, it also saves costs by able to do it at the edge. It also understands your context, because it sees everything else that you have open on your PC. It sees what you're trying to achieve. So when you ask a question, it's able to understand exactly what it is, the essence of your question. And that's what I think becomes very interesting. So you start to see it move from the cloud to the edge and everything in between. It doesn't mean that you can choose one or the other. It just means now you have a choice. And the reality is probably the bit in the middle, the hybrid AI, is where we'll mostly sit. And again, what you now have is choice. And that's important for customers. You're not being forced to have everything in the cloud or in the edge. You can use both. And depending on what industry you're in, again, we'll get to that, but different industries have different requirements for edge or for where the data sits.
I've seen that in action with the PowerPoint, for example. Yeah. And it was like an era of playing is ending, because 2 years ago we were playing with AI, like making images and cool stuff, and now we are just starting to work with AI. Actually, it makes sense, and on these computers, it's like lightning fast. Yes. And you have a presentation done. I've seen it, I couldn't believe. It's true.
It's very true. I mean, when I saw Copilot for the first time maybe 2 years ago, it was like that aha moment. Probably the first time in my 16 years of Microsoft, I realized, wow, this is going to change how we work today, how we live today. It was the first time I thought, wow, this is big. And what you learn, though, is that you see the videos, you go, this is great. But then the reality is different, because you then got to learn how to actually get the best out of AI, how to prompt the AI correctly to get what the outcomes. Exactly. And then you have to continue to use it. It isn't that you will learn how to do all this technology by thinking about it. You actually have to use it and make mistakes and keep tweaking your understanding of it. So that learning is also a huge part of where the industry is today. It's like, what does it really mean for me as an employee, for me as a company owner, for me as an organization? What does it really mean? And that's something that I think most organizations are still working through, what it really means.
Okay, and about the cloud to edge chain, how does the process data locally make it like a faster and more efficient for the end user?
In sense of?
How does the processing data locally make things faster and more efficient and safer?
Yeah, of course, because I mean, usually when you do a query to the cloud, you have to send information to the cloud, okay? And again, we had the starting from ChatGPT, and so when you would send information to the cloud, it was being used to train the models, to make the models smarter, but it meant that your competitors were also able to get the benefits of you using your data to train a model.
Okay, that means that, for example, if I have the sales report from last year, I want to make some stuff in Excel with it. So that means it will be computing on local device, not to sending to cloud.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the alternative now would be, instead of actually sending it to the cloud, although there are ways around it also. Microsoft has a product where you actually can only send your company data and only your company can see that. And it's not used to train the models. But with the edge, differently, the information is not sent anywhere. It stays on your device. So you're leveraging the power of the NPU, you're leveraging the power of the local models, creating those applications, and everything is generated locally. That gives you kind of peace of mind that nobody is seeing my data, and that my data is not being used to help my competitors get smart, right?
Okay, and that works with the Copilot PC Plus.
Correct.
Only, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the key point to...
The key point here is that Copilot Plus PCs is being defined as 40 tops because we believe at that point it's powerful enough to allow developers and ISVs to go away and create these experiences that leverage these LLMs. And with the LLMs, the SLMs, the local models, it allows you to also bring your own. So you're not just stuck with Microsoft's 40 SLMs, you actually bring your own models as well. And this is where it gets interesting. You think about not just ISVs who are creating for everybody, but also customers creating their custom applications. They can bring their own models. So we're not just stuck with the ones that Microsoft provides, but it's a great starting point. And those models continue to be trained and then dropped into the edge, which means they're always getting smarter. In fact, only last week or 2 weeks ago, we announced the latest version of Phi 4.0, which now goes from just being text to video to voice and so forth. So it's constantly being added as we go along to create more and more possibilities and innovation that ISVs will get. And of course, the key point here is that as Copilot Plus PC start to proliferate, that is, as we start to get more and more of these devices in people's hands, then the canvas on which these developers can actually create this innovation gets bigger and bigger. So that's where the applications at the edge on the PC become really, really smart.
And you'll have so much feedback from the people, from the actual work, and you will know how the people work with AI, and you can improve still.
Correct, correct, exactly.
And I've seen, a lot of us seen Copilot AI in action with the Excel, for example. I was blown away. And from your perspective, how could AI, with its special AI features, Copilot Plus, help people work better and faster?
Yeah. It's a great question, right? And I think the way to answer the question is say, as of today, I see 3 major benefits, right? But they will continue to change. They will constantly change as we get more powerful, more clever. But the 3 main areas where we see a quick improvement is, of course, one is searching and finding documents, finding that are important to you. It's about staying inside the workflow, so not having to move around, but actually being able to stay in the moment and do things while you're in the moment. And finally, it's about improved communication. So let me just go through those a bit more, give some examples around what that actually means. So the first one, really search. I mean, all of us, I think it's probably my biggest pain point. We're all very busy. The last thing I want to do is spend 15 minutes trying to find a document that I saw 3 weeks ago. It drives me crazy, right? So it's a real pain point that every customer has, every user has. And so a couple of things we have in this space. One, of course, is what we call semantic search, right? So today, the way search works today, it's based on lexical. That is, it's matching characters in a word. It has to match it exactly. So dog is D-O-G. It's checking for D-O-G. That's all you get back. You don't get back puppies. You don't get back kennels. You just get back dogs, right? So it's a simple example. Going forward, you have semantic search. So semantic search basically understands the essence of what you're looking for. It understands based on what's on your PC or the context of what you're actually trying to achieve, and it pulls back to you everything that's linked to what you've asked for. So, for example, you're working on a presentation, you saw it, you remember a picture, it was a red barn. You go, I don't know, it wasn't called Red Barn, but there was a red barn in that presentation. So search red barn. It pulls up all this presentation that had a red barn in it and allows you to go straight in and do that. And what's even also very nice with the same thing is federated search, which basically means that depending on where you are on your PC, whether you're in Explorer or whether you're in Outlook or Excel, when you search, It's searching across everything. All right? And that's also quite helpful. Today you search inside Outlook and just searching for Outlook. But it searches across everything for you, which makes it great. The second key point I would say around finding and searching for stuff is really a feature called Recall. And Recall was a feature we announced maybe 6-7 months ago. And we got a lot of customer feedback on it. We took the customer feedback because what Recall does is it takes predefined snapshots of what you're working on, and it puts it in a timeline so that you can remember 2 weeks ago I was working on that document. I have no idea what it was called, but I know it was back there 2 weeks ago. So you go back and you bring back the timeline and you find it, and then when you click on it, you immediately back to where you finished. All right, which is really great. But the challenge with that, of course, is there's a lot of nervousness around the privacy of taking snapshots of what your employees are working on and then storing it on the PC locally. And so what we've done is we've linked the privacy part of that to encrypting. You encrypt all those snapshots. And they're only unlocked and they're linked to the TPM 2.0, which is an important point. This is why you've got to move to Windows 11. But to be able to get access and unencrypt those snapshots, you have to use your face or biometrics. This is where Windows and the hello comes in. You actually use your face, then it opens up, and then only then can you see the snapshots. So this is now the single most secure feature in Windows history.
Special requirements for memory or something?
Yeah, again, it's set by IT. Again, you can set it. You can also set, the very important point, actually, it's a very good question, because the IT guys can actually set as to who gets access to this. Okay. So today, Recall is not going to come out of the box turned on because of the issues I mentioned. So IT will decide who can have access to it. And then once you have access to it, you as a user can decide which sites I don't want to be recalled. Mm-hmm. Maybe at your break you're looking at some YouTube. Forget about YouTube, right? Don't take any snapshot of YouTube. So you only take a snapshot of what you as a user want it to be snapshot.
Yeah, what's important for you. So it's basically like a local time traveling on your PC.
Exactly it. Yeah, exactly. So that's the first one. The second one, of course, is around staying in the moment, right? Making sure that you have access to everything. So the simplest thing you will see from a hardware point of view is that we will have a key, the Copilot key, which you've probably seen on all AI PCs today. And when you click on that, it brings you straight into all of what is Copilot. Makes it easy for you to actually find things you want to do. The other point, of course, that's very important is that we want to take the M365 in the cloud, and people who have that license to get more value by being able to work in a disconnected way. That is, if you have no Wi-Fi connection, you can still use Outlook, you can still use Word, and you can rewrite and summarize emails without being connected to the internet. So again, you start to see this motion come from the cloud to the edge in a hybrid motion, which is great. And so Microsoft will continue to bring all of its applications in M365 with these kind of features that will run using the MPU on the edge. One other first-party feature, again, around staying in the moment is a feature called Click to Do. Not a very sexy name, but it's very simple.
Well, it sounds sexy.
So Click to Do, basically, it's like vision. It sees exactly what you're doing in your PC. And so it then gives you, based on what you're looking at, it will give you proper, relevant actions. So you right-click on a picture, or to remove that picture, it tells you, just click on it, or you want to change some text. It allows you to right-click on something, and you see the relevant actions you can take immediately while doing something. So again, you stay inside the flow. And again, it's leveraging the MPU there as well to drive these actions. The last one is around improved communications. Again, today we all spend far too much time on back-to-back calls, far too much time communicating. It isn't always easy because you also working across different languages, different countries, where languages becomes an issue. And so we now have this thing called live captions, which basically translates 40 different languages. Not only that, but it goes beyond just having those kind of subtitles, or those captions as they call it, but also when I'm speaking to somebody in Czech and you want to speak to me just in Czech, is that it will immediately be able to use your own voice to be able to speak to me in English. So you speak Czech.
Maybe I will use that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a fantastic feature, right? And this is just the start of what's coming. It's mind-blowing,
so
right?
It's like online on a Teams call.
Yes. Yes.
Is it already published, or it will be?
I think it's public. I need to double check them. I think it's public. So basically, it means that if you're maybe you don't want to speak any other language but your own language, and it will be able to take the first couple of seconds as you speak and know how you speak, and then we'll have you speaking in English.
That's cool.
which is great. And then there's more features. So then the other part, of course, is sometimes you're speaking to people who are on calls and they have very poor bandwidth. And so the video's all grainy. You can't really see them. So we can super resolution this, make them all look great, which means you can have better conversations. It's very important that you see who you're speaking to. Otherwise, it can be a very boring conversation for you. It's very hard to see facial expression. And then with that, also we have this thing called studio effects, which basically means that when I'm speaking to somebody, I want to make sure that I look my best, that I sound my best, that all the noise behind me is cancelled out, that I am centered, and that if I'm reading something as I'm talking to the other person, I want to be able to make sure I've still got eye contact. And I love this. It's one of my favorite features. I basically have eye contact. So we're always reading something, but then we're looking down, and all they see is the top of my head, but people want to see your eyes. And this is very nice. So these are the three key things I see today with Copilot plus PC leveraging MPU at the edge, and where you start to see these real advantages. And this is where these great PCs that are being built by the OEMs come to life. Because really it's about what are the outcomes I will get from these beautiful PCs. That's the most important thing here. How is it going to help me to save time? How can I offset some of the more mundane tasks I do every day so I can focus more on the important things that add value for me that I'm interested in, right? So this is the promise of AI, particularly AI at the edge.
That's perfect. It can be used for example, the future online job interviews.
I think so.
You can have some notes there, and they can see that you read from somewhere else.
And in 5 years, AI will do that interview for you.
Well, exactly.
Okay. How the businesses today use the cloud to edge AI to improve the customer's experience and growth?
Yeah, they do. And again, in the cloud, there are a lot of different tools that Microsoft has, right? So again, from the cloud as opposed to edge here, there's a lot of different tools. So Microsoft has three big platforms in our AI strategy. Right? The first platform is what we call Copilot. Excuse me. And Copilot, essentially, we now look at as the UI for AI. So it basically takes away and hides all the complexity behind the scenes. It allows you to create these first-party and third-party experiences, and also brings in all the agent-to-agent conversation you see. Then you have what we call is kind of the Copilot and AI stack. That is where we allow our customers to take all the goodness that we use for our Copilots, but actually bring their own data, bring their own models, to be able to test their models and their data against the models, find the best model for them. And then finally, the third part of it, of course, is Copilot plus PCs. That is the edge. And so those three together is what Microsoft has as its AI strategy. Those three platforms come together, right? And the Copilot at the edge is the newest of the three, which is why we're still talking about it, because it still needs to get the message out to our partners and our customers. And so when you think about what do customers want from AI, there's a lot of things, right? But there are four broad things they want. They want to improve the employee experience. They want to enhance the customer experience and engagement. They want to simplify the workflows. And they want to be able to innovate faster than the competition. These are the four broad areas that customers are looking at. And these are probably relevant to every single industry in the world. There's not a single industry in the world that will not benefit from those four kind of transformations that are happening right now. And so back to your question around how do they leverage the cloud to improve customer engagement, it's really about using chat, for example. So today, we want to go in and be able to talk to a website. I mean, this is already happening. This is what Copilot does for you. Copilot allows you to actually go in and query what's on that page. But more importantly, if I'm in a customer service kind of motion where I have a query and I have a problem, I want to get it fixed, well, talking to an AI chatbot, it very simply knows exactly what you're asking. It can go away and find the answers and come back and help you. And that way it speeds up that engagement. All of this is stored. Next time you engage, it knows what you asked previously, and so it all comes together.
Okay.
So it still has a context.
Exactly, it has context, right? Because it's storing, and this is not, I'm kind of giving you a simple answer here, but there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes to make that seem so simple, to bring all the technology together. So different customers' CRM tools, the databases, the pricing, all the information needs to come together. And so the Copilot as the UI just simplifies all that's happening behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. Maybe let's get a little bit back, because I have a interesting question about what's the main benefit of the bringing my own language model to Copilot? How can I make a benefit of it?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many models, right? Today, Microsoft has, and again, it changes every day. The last number I saw was 1,867 models in the cloud. Everybody's creating models. That's the right way to be. This is a very, very early stages of AI, so everybody has ideas. And usually your model that's been created for your company will be perfect for what you want to do. And so the benefit of bringing your model is it's been tested, it's secure, and it works perfectly for your data and what you're trying to achieve. It doesn't mean there's other models that couldn't do it as well. But it just simply means that you like your model. You've tested it. Your IT guys are happy. Security guys are happy. It gives you the results you want, and you want to deploy it at the edge now. Perfectly acceptable. And again, you can leverage AI or Copilot to kind of Copilot and then put your name beside it. So it's like Copilot plus your company's name. But it's still the same experience again. The UI is the Copilot. Behind the scenes is all your data. It's all your models that you're happy with, that you feel secure with, that you've tested everything, and there's no breaches. This is why it's important to actually bring your own models.
So basically, you can make more efficient for your purpose.
Exactly, for your company, for your needs, and that's the point. That's the beauty of all these models, is that's why you have to test to find out which model works best for you. And this is part of what we do in our foundry, our AI foundry, where you can go in and test this stuff before you actually choose which model to deploy. But if you already know which model, haven't done the work already, then why couldn't I put that into the edge? Well, I could leave it in the cloud, of course, but I could put it also at the edge, which makes, depending on where your employees are based, they may not be connected all the time. So they may need to be in a disconnected state.
Yep. Okay, we have the last 2 minutes.
Sure.
I've prepared one question. Can you give us the one real-life example how the cloud-to-edge AI is used in some industry?
Yeah, there's so many, right? So
pick one, because we have...
I'll pick the healthcare.
Don't mention the Microsoft, please.
I mentioned, healthcare would be an industry that benefits a lot. We've all heard about the fact that we go in and we have a query with our GP and you got to fill in all these forms. I've never seen so many forms, and you don't quite get enough time with your GP because he's filling in all these forms just so he can charge you. And what really could happen is that he could be having all of this data being done by AI. Just turns on the recording, of course with your approval, and so all this has been recorded and then simplified for him. No need for him to spend time having to write all these notes later. No need to take all these notes that you get you charged later through your system. Another area, of course, is the camera in that kind of medical care. So today, by taking a picture of somebody who might have a skin problem, just to check, is that going to be a problem? Is it cancerous? Is it not? So using that, it takes a picture, which is very, very accurate. It goes away and checks against the database to see, this one probably needs to go away and have more investigation. This one's okay, but this one needs more investigation. So there's a lot of these examples. I could spend days going through all the examples, but I know we're out of time, but so all of these are being deployed today as we speak. And what you start to see is that you take it from the cloud, you can deploy this all at the edge, but only until we start to get more of these Copilot plus PCs in people's hands, this becomes something that's real. And then we start to see the real innovation through the developers in our marketplace.
Okay.
I can't wait what will happen in the next 5 years.
Thank you, Ronan.
It's very exciting. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
And see you next time.
Thank you.
Cheers.
See you.